Hi there, Dave Lockwood again. So what I'd like to talk about today is the little details that go into the junk removal business. I just really would like to show you how we went about doing this. So everything we do, I've noticed over the last few weeks, we've been doing this YouTube channel for 6 weeks, 7 weeks. We're learning, we're growing. I did a bunch of YouTube stuff, a handful of things. I was going to start a little book called How to Make Money with Junk, because I figured this out a long time ago, and I've been very excited about it because of what we've been able to build. Now, it took all three of us to do it. Logan, Talon, and I, we just, through dumb luck, ran across this little concept, and it's worked really well. Those two, them poor kids, they grew up with me, and I'm relentless. I'm going after stuff all the time, and I'm learning. I'm a lifelong learner, and I ran across all these different things that were sitting in front of me. And I was always trying to make thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions. And in the real estate business, I ran at it pretty hard. So the market pretty much came undone in 06 for me. And I was overextended quite a bit. I was building a bunch of houses and they quit funding everything. So not too keen on the stock market. So the stock market fraud crashed the real estate business. Of course, the real estate business was running wide open for a long, long time. So the joke for me, and this is my own little joke, is I went from rags to riches, because I grew up with very little. And, I probably grew up with less than some of you and more than some of you. But I grew up kind of poor. And my parents, they're good providers. We never really went hungry or anything like that. And my mom and dad stayed together. I'm not so sure they should have, because all they did was scream at each other. It was unbelievable, the stuff that I dealt with. And they also, through the way I grew up, we were taking care of stuff for some doctors when I was a kid. My parents basically were their landlords for a bunch of apartment buildings that they had, 3 apartment buildings. So I grew up cutting grass and cleaning apartments and, back there, cleaning rugs, painting, fixing stuff. People would leave a lot of stuff behind. So became kind of a scavenger at a pretty young age. My parents are huge scavengers. Everything in our house was scavenged from someplace else. I don't think we ever bought it just from one yard sale or another, or something we got from these apartments. Through all the stuff I did when I grew up, I learned that if I wanted to have anything, I was going to have to figure it out. So I mowed a bunch of people's grass, and my local hardware store told me about this lady that lived up the hill from us. We lived in a little valley town called Sailor Park, and up the hill was Delhi, and she lived on a private drive that was about, mile long, and I mowed her grass. So a lot of times our lawnmower would be broke, or her riding lawnmower, and I'd have to push my lawnmower up this hill. And it was like 300 feet straight up. It was unbelievable. The angle on the road, in the wintertime, they would shut the road down because cars would just slide right off the side of it. And it kept coming apart. The road, they'd repair it and repair it and repair it. I don't even know if the road's still there. They were had landslides over there quite a bit. So anyway, back to my story. Here's what I did. I learned through the real estate business, was in the real estate, sold real estate for a long time, amassed a whole bunch of properties, and the market just, one day it just changed. What was a really good idea today, tomorrow was not a very good idea. So through that, what I did is I went and took the money that I had. I paid all the guys on my subs and stuff like that till I was out of money. Once I was out of money, I just said, that's it. That's all I could do, because it wasn't like I could go get a job at Wendy's and make up the difference. It wasn't going to work. So I was doing stuff up north. I was doing stuff down here in Florida. Once I started coming to Florida, some of the guys, I taught about a lot of guys how to do real estate stuff. And those guys, one of them ran across the place down here called Cape Coral. So I was investing down here and doing stuff down here, and I was doing stuff up north. So when the market took a crap, I just said, that's it. I'm addicted to the sunshine. The dreary weather that I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio was just too much for me. So I figured if I was going to start all over, I'll start all over down here. So that's what I did. So I came down here, and I was getting back everything situated to get back into the real estate business, and I was doing what I had to survive. Was worried about my son and all the drugs in the high schools and stuff down here, so I put him into a Christian school And the tuition was like $550 a month. So worked out a situation with some of the guys that I knew down here who had houses in foreclosure. So we lived in houses that were being foreclosed on until they came and knocked on the door and said, you got to get out. So with the permission of the people that owned them, even though they weren't making their payments, I'd mow the grass, fix the house up enough that we could live in it, get the power turned on, pay the backwater bill, start mowing the grass and keeping everything up and not making it look like an eyesore, fixing it. Like one of them didn't have a hot water heater, so I put a hot water heater in it and stuff like that. So but basically, more or less, we're squatting. We're more or less homeless. So what we did is I started trying to keep him in school. One of the people I know, she works for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or did work for him. I don't know if she does that now or not. He's making a crazy amount of money, like $1 million a year. And she was fearful that she was going to lose her job for some reason. I don't remember why. And she bought this really comprehensive real estate course to chase foreclosures, to chase people who were behind on their mortgages and stuff like that. And basically, she didn't have the time to do it because she was training all the time and she was all over the country all the time and in other countries as well. And I was learning this for her. Eventually, she figured out she wasn't going to lose her job, so she lost interest in it, and so did I. But what I did while I was doing that, she was paying me like $500 a week. So what I was doing while I was doing that is I started noticing empty whole houses out, foreclosure houses, and empty them out right onto the street. So what I did, I was kind of proud. I was actually living in the neighborhood that I come from, that I owned houses in, and I was kind of, shy. Some people knew me down here. Not very many people knew me down here, but I'm a pretty proud dude. I didn't want to go garbage picking, or at least not in front of anybody. So what I did is I started noticing them putting perfectly good stuff out to the curb. So I just started, when I'd see that, I'd run over. You wouldn't believe this hoopty we ran around in. I had this old Ford Explorer. It was older than dirt. I was fixing it about every other week. And I built this wood trailer and put it on it. So what I did is I drove around at night and picked stuff up. And then when I'd see them emptying out a foreclosure house, I'd run over there and I'd go through and I kind of got an idea what things were going to sell for and what things could hold up to the weather and so on and so forth. So back then, everybody was hurting. So I sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mattresses and box springs, and I sold everything you can possibly think of that would come out of a house. So I had these gigantic yard sales. I tried doing a thrift store. I bought stuff through storage auctions. I did everything you could possibly do to get stuff to resell. And I figured out, I tried the thrift store thing. Dude, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a thrift store? I'll tell you the ins and outs of a thrift store. It's a very grueling thing. That will be a whole video by itself. I had these monster yard sales. Some of these yard sales, I would make $2,600 in a day. And I know that's hard to believe, but what I would do is I'd be in one of these foreclosed houses and I'd make friends with people on either side, and they kind of knew what I was doing. They weren't sure, but they kind of knew it. And I'd sell them some stuff or give them some stuff or whatever for a really good price. And then maybe I'd give them $100 for the weekend to use their front yard and to help me sell all my stuff. We would start like at 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd advertise the yard sale at 7. People got to know my yard sale signs. If they saw my yard sale signs out, dude, I started traffic jams. There's a bunch of funny stories with that. For example, Cape Coral code enforcement would come in the middle of my yard sale and steal and take my signs down because you're not allowed to have yard sales there without paying for a permit. And they'd only give you so many permits in a year. So what I would do is I would put the signs up and then I would have some other signs hidden not far away from there. And about 2 hours into my yard sale, I'd run back out and put the other signs up. And about 2 hours again, I'd put them out again. It's kind of funny.
I see what you did there.
I didn't think they were going to arrest me or anything over that, so I didn't really worry about it. But I kind of got ahead of the ballgame because a couple of times they took my signs and, and the yard sale kind of really slowed down. My tried and true people, they got there early because, all the goodies are in the first hour. All the goodies get sold in the first hour or two normally in most yard sales. So then I figured out after a while that, the yard sale's a lot of work. Mind-boggling amount of work. And, the income is sporadic. If it rained or something, you weren't going to make nothing. So what we did is we moved into these houses. Logan took the master, let him set it up as his own little man cave and his own little thing. I would take the smallest bedroom and I more or less would just put a bed in there around all the other stuff that I was selling, and I have a dresser. And then I just basically lived like I ate, drank, and worked. We did actual 100-hour weeks. I don't know if most people even know what a 100-hour week is. 100-hour week is you sleep very little, you get up, you're working, and the minute you stop working, you're going to bed. So that's what it's like. And it's very unusual, 7 days a week. Just trying to get my wheels back on. You know, my credit was shot. I had an ungodly number of foreclosures that I had. All that stuff happened. And so what we started doing is we started doing this junk removal thing. So I started to advertise through Corplast signs and through Craigslist. And I was advertising in the rich neighborhoods and say free unwanted junk removal. After doing all these different things where I went out and paid for stuff, I figured out that I could get the same stuff and get paid to come get it through the junk removal business. So what I did is I kind of emulated some of the other junk removal guys that were on Craigslist, and I used every way that I could think of to get stuff for free. So initially I started doing free junk removal, and I write the ad, say, if you've got unwanted junk, it's big and heavy, whatever, I'll take some trash too, but I'll come get it and I'll clean it up and free of charge. But I need stuff that's worth something because this is the way I'm supporting my family. And I did that for a long time. And then I figured out I would go down, I'm in Cape Coral, I would go to Naples. I was advertising in Naples and Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach and all the really wealthy areas that are close to the ocean where space is critical, money's not that critical, and they just want convenience. So I would advertise that way. And then I noticed that I would go and do a junk removal that would be, let's say 1-800-JUNK would charge $150 to do it. I would go do a junk removal and these people would feel guilty and they'd give me $150 anyway. Or they give me $50 or $300. And it happened over and over and over and over. So, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I figured, wonder what's going on with this. So we'll pick up heavy and hard to do items and other things like that. And I charged a little bit. One particular job, the guy sends me pictures and it's like a whole estate. The price that he had got quoted, he didn't tell me this till later, was $1,700. He asked me, how much would you do it for? And I said $300. He thought I was nuts.
Oh, this is nuts.
You know, maybe I was, but what I did is I showed up and he was very curious. He says, what are you going to do with all this stuff? I said, I'm going to take it to Cape Coral and sell it. Oh, really? Well, that's great. He says, I can't stand the idea that all this stuff was going to get put into a truck, take it to the dump and dumped on the ground. He said, I don't care if you make money on it. It doesn't matter to me. Once it's in your truck, it's yours. I don't care what you do with it. So I started to ask around and I realized people didn't care. They really didn't care. Now, if I lied to them and I misled them or something, that'd be one thing. I didn't. I was very upfront. I just said, this is what we're doing. Fast forward a little bit. So we're doing a junk removal, about the 10th junk removal for this guy. Really, his name's Al. I won't tell you his last name, but real tight wad, man. He squeaked when he walked. So wore me out. I mean, we did stuff for cheap anyway, and he wanted even cheaper. So we ended up getting all this furniture and stuff like that from him. And one day he says to me, we came to pick up, he's like his 10th one that he was doing. He was doing a bunch of these condos in this place down here. He's just doing one after the other. So he says to me, he says, I'm in a pickle. He says, I've been waiting for this tile company. Got a really good price. Been waiting for them for about a month. They're coming on Monday. This was like Thursday. And the guy that I had lined up to take this tile up so they could put the tile down, he's not calling me back. And I'm like, that's pretty common in Florida, because if you come to Florida and you're somebody who shows up and does what you're supposed to do in that, you get really busy really quick. And most of these guys are not very good businessmen, but they're very good at working. So calling somebody up and them getting mad at them and screaming and yelling at them because they're not going to make it to this job only because, you know, they've had issues with the job they're on, like the guy didn't get the tile there in time, or it's taken longer than they expected, or whatever, all the crazy stuff that happens with when you're doing rehabs.
All right, folks, welcome to Cardiac Rehab.
So what happened is he said, look, I'll give you $1 a square foot to take this tile up. And I'm like, okay, how many square foot is it? He said, 2,000. I'm like, okay. So I'm a beast. Now this is 10 years ago. I'm not as much of a beast as I was back then. I'm a beast. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll take it up. So the only problem is the only thing I got to take it up with is a jackhammer, a 60-pound jackhammer. I said, what about the thin set? He said, thin set doesn't have to come up. They're going to put in a thick bed. It doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, no problem. So went to my buddy, Willie, and I said, Willie, hey, can I borrow your 60-pound jackhammer? He said, sure, why not? So I borrowed it and I went and I literally took up tile with a 60-pound jackhammer. So if you've ever taken tile up, you would know that 60-pound jackhammer is what you take up and bust up like a concrete sidewalk with. Well, this was about 30 pounds more than what you should be carrying around to do this stuff. So normal jackhammers that take up tile weigh 35 pounds, plus the bit weighs about 10 pounds, so 46 pounds. So if I'm taking up tile with a 60-pound jackhammer, it's really 75 pounds. It's a lot. I would hit that and this tile will go all the way across the room and hit the wall. So anyway, I took it up. $2,000, took me a day and a half. We hauled it away inside of the price. So it probably cost us like 50, 60 bucks to dump it. So I made $2,000 in a day and a half. And back then, dude, that was like winning the lottery. You know, again, I'm starting all over. So then he says to me, he says, who do you know that takes out kitchens and baths and stuff like that? And I said, geez, I'll take it out. Go backwards about, say, a year before that, I was driving down the street in Cape Coral and there was a kitchen cabinet set put to the curb. It was in very good condition. Like 1 or 2 of the boxes was broken, but you know, I'm a contractor. So I picked it all up, put it back together. Took me 20 minutes to put 2 boxes back together, put it out by my pool at the house that the foreclosed house that we were living in at that point in time, and put it on Craigslist. I didn't measure the cabinets or nothing, just took a picture of it and put it on Craigslist. By 11 o'clock that night, somebody had called me like at 10 or 9 or something, and they were on their way. They didn't get there till like 10:30. So we're loading up this kitchen cabinet set I sold to them for $500 at 11 o'clock at night that I picked up 3 hours earlier, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm starting to think, oh my God, there's a business here. I think so. So I talked to Logan. We get sick and tired of living in Cape Coral, so we worked it out so we could get into a house over on Fort Myers Beach. And that's a whole story by itself too. So we literally lived in the servants' quarters house, or the guest house of a rich house that was on the beach, which is gone now. Hurricane Ian wiped it out. We moved from Cape Coral down here to the beach because we came to Florida to be around the beach, around the touristy stuff. We like that. We like being around the hustle bustle. We like being able to eat at these fancy places and all that stuff. It was fun for us. You know, we're working our butts off. Logan's pretty young. His buddy Talon and I and Logan are doing this business together, this junk removal / demo business. So I buy this truck, and I decide that I'm going to put on the side of it that we take out kitchens and baths and tile and walls and all this stuff. Pretty much the same stuff I got on my trucks now. And the rest is history. So we started about 2010, and we were doing a mixture of junk removal and demolition. We called ourselves Affordable Demolition. I had a license, contractor's license. We were broke. I hadn't paid the fees on it for like 5 or 6 years. And I realized, I went back to it and found out that if I paid the fees up, I could reinstate it. So I did. I was able to use my contractor's license again. So then we started going after doing these bigger jobs, and I started advertising on Craigslist and getting the word out. And the word got out pretty quick. So it's just me, Talon, and Logan for several years. We were running as Affordable Demolition. Then we're working in Naples, and we realized something. We got a very unique business concept here. So in 2014, we went ahead, we branded it. We figured it was going to take off. We weren't sure exactly how it was going to take off. We knew that we were growing by leaps and bounds every year. You know, we started out with 1 box truck and 1 dump trailer. And now we're 43 trucks, I think they told me the other day. About 35 of them are box trucks, and we do everything from junk removal all the way through tearing houses down. We cut concrete and everything through this business now. It has grown and grown and grown and grown. It's just amazing to me. Okay, so we're doing the junk removals. Now we're starting to take kitchens and baths out. So we just start telling the contractors, say, look, you know, we're bidding your job out at $5,000. I'll do it for $4,000 if I get everything that's left in here. I want the furniture, shower doors, tub. I want the kitchen. I want the baths, the vanities, all the light fixtures, and all the other stuff that came along with it. And that was a hit. So we were licensed, had some pretty steep insurance things to do, and we got our insurance and that. So we're working in these high rises. Shockingly, these people that come down here from other parts of the country, you know, they're coming down on a plane. And they're shipping their cars. They don't want to deal with all this stuff. So they'll buy a place, and let's say it was in the state. They'll buy the place, and they don't want any of it. So the contractor's getting a better deal, making a little bit of extra money. We're getting all the stuff. We're selling the stuff, and we're doing the demolition business. And man, oh my God, So we have built this business to that. We're doing some crazy numbers. It's a very unique concept. It's a very environmentally friendly concept in the sense that we keep a lot of stuff from going to the landfills. So here we are now. We got a warehouse. I got about 8,000 square foot under roof. I got 23 Connex boxes. We need triple the space. I don't have the space. Everything's so freaking expensive here. So we're looking for a bigger place right now. So we're doing, 2,000 demos a year. So after Ian, we bought the equipment and we're starting to do whole house teardowns. So now I'm getting a lot of hurricane windows. I'm getting a lot of kitchen cabinet sets and stuff on the buildings that are, elevated in that. Every house that we demo, we get a huge amount of stuff. And every house that we demo, or every condo we demo, or every house, like we started one today, we're taking out everything. We're taking out the kitchens, the baths, all the cabinets, all the drywall, several walls, all the flooring, and we're going to strip it back, and they call it to a clean slate. And then they'll redo the floor plan because of the way these houses are built here. They span from one wall to the next, so they can really take all the walls out if they want. And that particular house, I've got 3 sets of vanities. I got the laundry set, kitchen cabinet set, and I got 3 sets of vanities, like I said. And then I got a bunch of doors, regular size doors. The taller doors I can't sell, got rid of those. Just a bunch of stereo equipment and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. We broke up the granite because the granite's the wrong color. If it was the right color, we would have brought it back to the shop. That's pretty much it. So my inspiration to you, or my purpose for telling you all this stuff, is to say, okay, let's say you don't want to be in the demolition business, or you don't want to be in the junk removal business for a long time. If you put the junk removal business together with a resale business, and I'm not talking about having a big warehouse or anything like that. When we were doing this and we were building our company, we were using houses and just filling up the garage, filling up the extra rooms, filling up the back covered area around the pool, and we were doing it there. And we made huge gains very quickly. So the little stuff that's worth something, I sold it on eBay. The bigger stuff, I sold on Craigslist. There's a formula for everything we do. So there's a formula about how I handle things on eBay. There's a formula about how I put things on eBay. There's a formula about how I take pictures to put stuff on eBay. There's a formula for figuring out what things are worth. There's a formula for making sure that I've got enough space. Things are constantly churning and going through, and all that stuff, I'm going to put that into videos, and I'm going to explain and show you literally how to do it. Reuseitpros Demolition. We're based out of Southwest Florida. Welcome to our community. Stay posted for the next video. So if you like what you're seeing, if you could subscribe and give us a like, it helps the algorithm know that we're doing something productive, and see you on the next video.